Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the garage. Welcome back to another year of the Golden Peas Movie Awards. I'm so excited. Love movies, obviously, cinephile. I got a couple other ones backstage that I'm about to bring out for you because tonight they are going to be unveiling the nominations for this year's Golden Peas Movie Awards. Essentially, I started this about 8 years ago on my podcast, and it was an audio format with my old podcast host. And we just kind of gave our favorite things of the previous year, and it usually surrounded movies. And it advanced to a much more elaborate thing here on YouTube a few years ago. This is the third year in a row that we'll be doing this on YouTube, and I'm very excited. When it comes to the nominations that you're going to see tonight, there was a small committee, and they're the Golden Peas Committee, whether they know it or not, and they basically created this ballot that you're going to see tonight. And voting will be live as soon as we are done making the announcements, which will probably take, 5 or 10 minutes or so. And then the nominations and the ballot will be live. You can cast your vote. And the ceremony to announce those winners is going to be on February 12th, once again, right here on this YouTube channel, Two Peas on a Pod. So we're going to celebrate film tonight. And, of course, I'm going to bring in some regulars. They've done this before. Let's get a couple of them in here. Let's see what we got here. Look at these faces here. Hello.
Hello.
Guys, down at the, I think if the view is the same for everybody watching, in the top right, Miss Nicole Ackman from Culture Cabinet. We're in the same critics group here in North Carolina.
Yeah.
By the way, it's freezing here, as you know.
It is.
So very, very cold out here. How are you? Thanks so much for doing this again. We were just talking before we went live, and I think this is the third year in a row that the three of us have gotten together to do this. So how you doing?
Yeah.
How you holding up?
I'm good, other than cold, but I'm very excited to be back for another year of announcing these, and very, very excited because some movies that I really like got a fair few nominations. So
we'll see what the heavy hitters were this year, the Golden Peas. Mr. JD Duran from InSession Film, of course. I think you just finished recording your year-end episode. You started a week ago, and you just finished.
We're actually beginning tomorrow as this is live. So
you'll be wrapped up before the ceremony for the Golden Peas then.
Yeah, yep. Our episodes will go out next week. It's about 47 hours long, or at least that's how it feels.
There it is. Unedited. Just roll it out there.
Yeah,
hey, I love it. I love listening to it. I love it. Yeah, for sure.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
So we're going to get into the nominations. There are 10 categories this year. And I've been adding a little bit at a time to keep my sanity. So we did add a new category this year. I'm going to wait and let JD. I think he's the one that has that in his to-do list over there tonight. So he'll unveil that brand new category, which will give us 10 this year that you'll be able to vote on. However, before we get started, I just want to say we love movies, right? I mean, that's why we're here. That's why award season exists in general. And I've got my little corner of award season over here with the Golden Peas. But the kind of tragic events that are going on in California are at the top of our mind. And because we love movies so much, because we love Hollywood so much, it is a really tough thing to see. And I just want to let anybody know that's listening out there on the West Coast, or that has friends or family out there, or is just connected to the movies like the three of us are, that we're thinking about you. And we hope that this tragedy comes to an end sooner than later. Guys, I wanted to give you the floor if there's anything you want to say to those folks as well before we get started.
yeah, I mean, I've got friends and family out there, and obviously thinking of them and everybody in the industry and everybody out there. Definitely keep sharing information that is relevant and fact-checked on social media. I've seen some good stuff going around, in particular about, evacuation shelters that are accepting pets and things like that, because that's super important at a time like this. But, really hoping that, like you said, that this is over soon, and the recovery and all of that can start.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's devastating to hear and see what's going on out there. I also have a bunch of friends out there. I hope everyone is able to stay safe, and our hearts, as heavy as they are, certainly go out to those that are affected by it. It's really heartbreaking to see. So, yeah, hopefully, as you guys noted, this all comes to an end soon. It's pretty sad to see.
Absolutely. I agree with both of you, and it is very tough. And we're celebrating the movies tonight, and that's the mecca, right? Hollywood. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I was telling Nicole earlier, I popped in to get something to drink, and there's a new fire that kind of emerged in the Hollywood Hills. It's like a few
Yeah.
blocks from the Chinese theater. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
it's a really hard thing to see, and I'm
Yeah.
confident that they can hopefully contain it and figure it
Yeah.
out sooner than later. So we are thinking about everybody out there and anybody that's affected by it for sure. We're going to try to celebrate the movies tonight. And I want to let everybody know that might be watching on YouTube or, for that matter, Facebook or Twitter. If you are commenting after the announcements are made, like I said, 5 to 10 minutes probably, after those announcements are made and we have our nominees, the three of us are going to kind of discuss what got nominated. We'll give you our reactions, who missed, who was snubbed. We'll talk about snubs tonight as well. And we'll head over and check out some of your comments too. So as you're seeing these nominees, please feel free to comment on, oh my God, I can't believe that missed, or that got nominated, or that's my favorite, or I hate that movie, or whatever. Comment away, and then we will check your comments after the announcements are made. JD, Nicole, if you guys are ready, I'm going to
Yep.
drop out, and we're going to go through these 10 categories, and you guys are going to announce these nominations. Are you guys good to go?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right, let me pull this up real quick, and I'm just going to change the view here. There we go, and then I'm gonna drop out. With the first slide pops up. Who's starting us off? It's you, right, Nicole? I think you're
It's
starting us
me.
off. All right, so you'll have the first category. When you see that slide pop up, just go ahead and take it away, okay?
All right. So first up, I will be announcing the nominees in one of my favorite categories, the Best Movie Poster. And the nominees are Challengers, The First Omen, I Saw the TV Glow, Mean Girls, and Nosferatu.
All right. Next, we will be looking at the nominees in the category of Best Animated Movie. And the nominees are Inside Out 2, Memoir of a Snail, Transformers 1, Wallace and Gromit: Vengeance Most Foul, and The Wild Robot.
Next, we'll be looking at the nominees in the category of Best Comedy Movie. And the nominees are Babes, Dee Dee, My Old Ass, Snack Shack, and Thelma.
All right, next up, I will be announcing the nominees in the category of Best Action Movie. And the nominees are Deadpool and Wolverine, Furiosa: A Mad Max Saga, Gladiator 2, Monkey Man, and finally, Twisters.
Next up, I will be announcing the nominees in the category of Best Horror Movie. And the nominees are Alien: Romulus, Longlegs, Nosferatu, Smile 2, and The Substance.
Okay, now it's time for a brand new category this year as we take a look back at some of the films that made us say, wait, what? And are widely considered some of the year's worst movies. Perhaps bad in a good way? You get to decide. And the nominees are Hot Frosty, Madam Web, Megalopolis. Red 1. And finally, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2.
All right. Well, now that JD has survived that announcement, so some movies you might not have been expecting to hear tonight. Let's get back to the good stuff and recognize some of the year's best directorial efforts. The nominees for Best Director are Sean Baker for Honora, Robert Eggers for Nosferatu, Coralie Farja for The Substance, Rose Glass for Love Lies Bleeding, Jane Schonbrun for I Saw the TV Glow, and Denis Villeneuve for Dune Part 2.
Okay, now let's take a look at some of the best acting performances of the year. First up is the award for Best Male Performance. And the nominees are Timothée Chalamet for Complete Unknown, Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, Hugh Grant for Heretic, Chris Hemsworth for Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, Glenn Powell for Hitman, and Denzel Washington for Gladiator 2.
Okay. And next up, let's celebrate our cinematic ladies and take a look at the category for Best Female Performance. And the nominees are Ariana Grande for Wicked, Mikey Madison for Honora, Demi Moore for The Substance, Naomi Scott for Smile 2, June Squibb for Thelma, and Zendaya for Challengers.
Okay. And finally, Nicole and I will partner in announcing the 10 nominees in the category of Best Movie of the Year. All right, here we go. And the nominees are Honora, directed by Sean Baker,
Challengers, directed by Luca Guadagnino,
A Complete Unknown, directed by James Mangold,
Dune Part 2, directed by Denis Villeneuve,
I Saw the TV Glow, directed by Jane Schonbrun,
Love Lies Bleeding, directed by Rose Glass,
Nosferatu, directed by Robert Eggers,
The Substance, directed by Coralie Farja,
Thelma, directed by Josh Margolin,
and Wicked, directed by John M. Chu.
All right, I'm back. You guys killed it as usual. As usual.
Appreciate it.
Oh my God, it's like watching the actual Oscar nominations morning. It's on my computer and I'm in the garage. I know it's weird. Thank you both so much. That was great. I'm going to try to moderate the chat a little bit as we go through our discussion.
Sure.
I know you guys have been announcing them, but I also kind of want to know what you think of them, and we'll just kind of have a talk about these categories. We'll start with the big one, I guess, which is Best Movie that you just announced here. So, what do you think, Nicole? What do you think of this group of 10 here?
I mean, thank you for lining up so that I got to say Challengers. I like in one of my several Challenger shirts.
Yeah, for sure.
But no, I think this is a really fun group of movies. What I really like is that it has some of the, bigger films of the year that I think we're going to see like at the Oscars, but then it also has some films that are not that. Like I love Thelma being included here. That's so fun. And also let's see, my top 4 movies of the year all made it into the list. Challengers,
Oh, wow.
Nosferatu, A Complete Unknown, and Dune Part 2. So I'm personally thrilled to see that.
I love it. JD,
Nice.
what do you think of this group?
Yeah, I will echo what Nicole said. It's an eclectic mix here, which is really nice to see. Thelma is a really fun surprise. Unfortunately, June Squibb is not being in the awards conversation enough,
I
but
know.
man, what a lovely performance that is. I saw the TV Glow. I love that that's here. I think that's one of the very best films of the year. Spoiler alert for our show, that will end up in my top 10 at the end of the year as well.
Okay.
So that's really great. Love Nosferatu as well. Big fan of Honora. So yeah, I mean Dune Part 2. Actually, that's spoiler alert, probably going to be in mine as well. So yeah, some really great films here.
Yeah, I agree. What I thought of when I saw this, Tim, when it kind of came together, it was like, what do I vote for? Because
Yeah.
like, kind of
Yeah.
like what Nicole was saying, there's like I mean, Honora, Nosferatu, and The Substance are probably and Dune Part 2 are probably my top 4 movies of the year. So, and
Mhm.
they're all like really close in terms of score and how much I enjoyed them, how much I would revisit them. Some of these are in other categories, which helps a little bit, I think, but
Yeah.
I'm with you guys. I think this is a great mix of, some of the award season players, but some of the movies that came out earlier in the year, like Love Lies Bleeding or I Saw the TV
Yeah.
Glow, that just
Yeah.
aren't getting
Dune
enough love
2.
this award season. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
Dune
turning
came out
out
in
that
what,
might be
March or
true.
something
Dune 2, I
crazy.
keep being like, are we sure that's like the same year?
Yeah.
Like,
It feels like
I
forever
mean,
ago.
like I was a different person then.
yeah, I know. Don't get me started on everybody else forgetting about Denis directing that movie too. I'm just like, oh man, we're
Yeah.
giving out these director nominations and he's not in them.
Mm,
It's
I have
just
I
crazy.
thoughts.
know it's wild. Wild.
Nicole, I know so that's our best movie
Oh,
nominees there. By the way, guys, producer Dan, I believe, is in the chat and should be dropping the link for you to go ahead and cast your ballot. It's live now. If not, it
woohoo.
is on the bottom of the screen on the ticker as well. And it's just a shortened URL, the bit.ly URL there, and you can go and cast your vote up until February 1st. Nicole, I know you are a big fan of this category. So
I
what
am.
what was there anything missed here? Was there a movie poster that you loved this year that didn't get repped?
Okay, so my one big snub in this category, which anyone who knows me or has seen my X account lately, I can't get used to it. My Twitter account
Gotta call it Twitter,
um
yeah.
Yeah.
is not. I can't do it. It sounds, yeah.
uh,
I think that the Apprentice poster is phenomenal.
That's
Um,
true, actually, yeah.
I think that like that's my favorite one that's not here. But I would also say my 2 favorite posters of the year are here. So,
Mm.
um,
Is it Challengers and Nosferatu?
it is.
Yeah, mine too. Mine too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I also
and
really love seeing that Mean Girls got in here, mostly because
yeah,
as a North Carolinian, I love to see North Carolinian Renee Rapp on
Queen,
this show.
absolutely Queen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was so thrilled too that was because the way we did it this year, we had a really small committee, and
Hmm.
I would randomly like order them, and then the first person on the committee would get the first pick, and then it would go to the next person. But the only rule
Oh,
was you couldn't pick what had already been picked. So that was
yeah,
how we got the nominees in the majority of
that
the
makes sense.
categories. So I was so glad
gotcha.
somebody
Gotcha.
shouted out Mean Girls as well.
Yeah.
Um, what do you think, JD?
Nice.
You got a favorite movie poster that didn't show up here, or is your favorite on the list? I know last year you
Well,
loved Zone of Interest, which got
yeah,
nominated,
loved
but
Zone
Hmm.
of Interest. I'd say my favorite poster that I've seen this year, although I do really like the nominees here, and I did not expect this to show up at all, but the Spanish Argentine film Close Your Eyes, I think is
I don't know that one.
remarkable. Love the images that they use for that. It's really evocative, and if and when you see the film, the poster will, I think, become much more resonant. For a
Okay.
film that is more widely seen, The First Omen is probably
Hmm.
one of my favorites, if not my favorite. I think from last year.
Yeah,
I'm
that's a
trying to
good one.
think here off the cuff as well.
And what's really cool?
Like,
What's really cool about some of? I'm sorry to interrupt. What's really
no,
cool
no,
about some
go
of
go
these
ahead.
too is they had a great series of posters. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
First Omen had like 2 or 3 really good posters. There's
Yeah.
that one of
yeah,
her
sure,
in the
yeah,
doorway with the like red shadow.
yeah,
Nosferatu, the one with the curtain kind of silhouette of him or whatever.
Yep.
There's a lot of really good ones,
yeah,
multiple
yeah,
ones for these films, honestly.
yeah. Yeah,
All
some
right,
some
cool.
good stuff here though. I saw the TV Glow is another one I really really love.
Hmm.
That's certainly a favorite of mine as well.
Yeah, that's a good one, and that evokes that really, really memorable scene in that movie too.
Oh, for sure.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
like Fred Durst is in that scene, which is weird
I
to
know.
me.
Wild.
We had a comment over in the chat. Jared Taylor, who's a patron of my show and just an awesome dude who's been supporting me forever. Let me see if I can find it. So he is thrilled. He's been asking for a worst movie of the year category since we started doing this, and here it is. Again, I polled a small committee, and this is what they came up with. I actually love. I'm just going to tell you, I love Hot Frosty. Let's go. Like, it was such a dumb, fun Christmas movie that was the most unrealistic thing I've ever seen, but it was just like a guilty pleasure. What do you guys think of these quote unquote bad movies? Are any of these like enjoyable for you guys, or are you guys like, oh, I don't want to see any of these?
I So funny enough, I actually took my like work best friend to the press screening of Red One with me. And we now have a running joke that we are Red One's like two biggest fans because I
Okay, all
actually
right, okay,
really
okay,
liked it. Like got my parents to watch it.
sure.
It's on Amazon. It's like, is it a great film? No. Is it a very fun holiday movie? Yes. And I will
Okay.
also say one of my most hated films of the year did not make it on this, which is
Which was?
Argyle. Um,
Yeah,
I
Yeah. That
detested
should be
that
here.
movie.
Yeah.
And that was also the
yeah,
epitome for
it
me
was
of like,
very good.
wait, what? Because like the ice skating scene at the end, I literally kept
Oh,
looking around like, is everyone else seeing the same thing I'm seeing?
With the
yeah.
oil
Um,
slick or whatever. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
That
but
was
I will
maybe my
say,
least favorite moment of the year, honestly. I think it
I will
might be
say
that.
my like last film on my like ranking on Letterboxd is on here. And it's Megalopolis because
Oh,
I
okay. I
I
haven't seen it yet.
truly like put Peepaw in the retirement home. Um so that we
Okay.
don't ever have to see something like that again.
JD, what about you,
I
man? You
am
think these
a
are truly
I'm a
bad films here?
Megalopolis defender. I love it. No, I dig
Oh,
it.
wow.
I
Okay.
can't.
It
I
is
All
can't.
right.
messy. It's weird and messy, but I love it. No, I'm definitely a defender of it for sure.
Okay.
Red One
Interesting.
was interesting for me though because obviously the reviews come out and everyone is trashing on it.
Yeah.
However, around Christmas time, I did find a moment where I was, I don't know, 6, 7 gin and tonics deep and decided to keep going and put that on. And I found the secret. That is a great way to enjoy that movie because I did not
Yes.
hate it nearly as much as everyone else did. And maybe that was the gin talking. I don't know, but I did hate it.
We got some defenders over in the chat for Blood and Honey too.
I feel like there's no
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
one
Stu
who's
rolled
going to
in.
defend Madam Web, though. We've got someone willing to
No.
defend everything else, but
Yeah. There's no
But
yeah.
yeah,
defending
I
that.
guess
Yeah.
I actually haven't seen. Honestly, I haven't seen Megalopolis, the Winnie the Pooh. Yeah, those are the only two. I
Mm.
saw the other three, and
You're making me think maybe I should go back and watch Hot Frosty.
yeah, it's a trip, man. It is a trip. It's a
How
hot
I
snowman
got a
that
question
comes to
though.
life, and they fall in love.
I got a question. How come
Yeah.
Madam Web is nominated here, but Craven isn't, even though Craven got worse audience and critic scores?
Here's the thing, though. As someone who has seen Craven the Hunter
And I
in
haven't.
theaters
I
Mhm.
haven't.
twice,
Twice.
Wow, twice.
the thing
Okay.
about Craven the Hunter is it is one of those movies. So I'd like to clarify. My best friend Lex and I have gone to see it together twice. Because it's not a good movie, but it's a very enjoyable movie.
Okay.
For one thing,
Okay.
Russell Crowe doing like semi-camp Russian mafia is
Okay.
never not gonna get me. I mean, like,
Yeah,
Yeah, that
you
sounds
kind of
that
sold
sounds
me on
decent.
that. Yeah.
exactly. It's like literally, it's just like Aaron Taylor Johnson being really hot, Ariana
Mm.
DeBose making me question how she ever got an Oscar in the first place,
Mm.
and Fred Hechinger being really adorable. Like Fred Hechinger, Man of the Year between Thelma, Gladiator
Yeah, he
2,
was in
and
everything. Yeah.
Kraven the Hunter, and Nickel Boys. So
Yeah.
So you prefer you're a Craven greater than Madam Web person.
yeah,
Okay, I haven't seen Craven
Okay.
yet either, but
I haven't
I
seen it, but
genuinely recommend Craven. Like, is it good? No. Will you have fun? Yes.
well, we have
okay.
a friend, a mutual friend. I don't know if he's over in the chat or not, but Julio from the Contrarians freaking loved Craven. I think he gave it 5 stars on that.
I
Like he's
okay,
like
here's the
So
loved
thing.
he's
it.
the one. He's the one.
I
Okay.
He
gave it like
loved
a
it.
2.5 stars, and yet the moment that thing comes to digital, I will be purchasing it. So,
Okay. That's
you
hey,
know,
fair
Nice.
enough, fair enough.
Okay.
speaking of
Action
action.
movies. Yeah, exactly. Craven's not here either, but I guess maybe it could have been. There is a superhero representation here, though. I want to hear what you guys think, but I was actually kind of surprised. I'm not going to say upset because I think this is a good group, but I was surprised the Fall Guy wasn't here. I thought that was
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's the love letter to stunt coordination and all that. But other than that, I really enjoyed all these films. I wasn't like blown away by Deadpool and Wolverine, but for what it was, it was a good Deadpool entry, and that opening bye 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 sequence was maybe one of the best of the year as well. What do you guys think of this group of 5? JD, best action. What do you think, man?
I mean, I would take the Fall Guy over 3 of these, if I'm being perfectly
Okay,
honest.
all right.
But yeah, this category for me begins and ends with Furiosa. I think it's not just the best action movie. I think it's one of the best films of the year, period. Terribly overlooked. I'm saddened that it wasn't more well received when it came out, but I think that film is absolutely incredible. I think it's a phenomenal complementary piece to Mad Max in the sense that Mad Max was action oriented with poetry kind of filtered throughout, and Furiosa is kind of the opposite in the sense that it's incredibly poetic with a bunch of or like action kind of filtered throughout, and how that coalesces at the end in this mythical way, I think is astounding. I adore that movie. I think it's one of the best of the year.
Yeah, it's good. My boy Stu says he would have liked Monkey Man if they maybe should not have filmed it during an apparent earthquake.
That's incredible.
Yeah, Dan says Fall Guy was fine, which is actually high praise from Dan, so that's pretty good. Um, what, Nicole? What do you think of this group? You got any favorites here? Probably
Yeah,
Gladiator for you, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, actually, you might be surprised to know. Twisters is my number 5
That's
movie
a
of
good
the
one.
year. What I
Okay.
really like about this group is that there are very different types of action movies represented. Like
Yeah.
it's obviously we've got some different like movies, but also different types of action, which I think is fun.
Mhm.
I also think it's interesting that I like most years I feel like you would have a more traditional like war movie, and
Yeah,
you could argue like Gladiator 2 has like a couple of war scenes, but that's not
sure.
what most of the action is.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is gonna be a hard one for me to pick between Gladiator 2 and Twisters, honestly. But you've also reminded me, JD, that I still need to watch Furiosa.
Yeah, you got to see it.
So
I
Oh,
I'm
mean,
gonna bump that up my list.
I think of the
it's
nominee, like if you're thinking of like movie, I mean, I got to go with JD. I mean, Furiosa is like by 10,000 miles the best movie on this in this group.
mm,
Or if you're, judging it by action set pieces and sequences, then you might have a little more competition there.
Yeah.
But
mhm.
it's got to be Furiosa for me. I mean, Twisters was a hell of a lot of fun though, and Glenn
Yeah.
Powell is so damn charismatic, and
Yeah.
you know, he's the movie star right now. So it was fun to watch him do his thing too.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, I'm going Furiosa, but it's a good group of films there.
yeah.
What about these guys? Now this,
Mm,
it's so funny because when the Golden Globes, which just happened as we're recording like less than a week ago, and they do musical or comedy, and I'm looking at the list and I'm going, these are all depressing, horrific films. Like it's just crazy.
Yeah, shout
But
out to
then
like this being actual comedy.
yeah, these are
Like,
actual comedies. So I was thrilled. Thelma could have honestly kind of bled over to action as well, but it's here in the comedy category. What do you guys think of this group? Have you seen all of these? What do you guys think? Whoever wants to go first.
I can take it. I love all 5 of these. I love
Yeah.
this category. This
Good
might be
movies.
my favorite of the entire night.
Okay.
I adore these. Babes was one of
Oh my God.
the
I
biggest
was in
surprises
stitches.
of the year. Like I walked into it not really knowing what to expect, and as a parent of 2, and obviously there's a lot to it that I can't relate with, but even just on the male side of it, that is one of the more relatable films of the year for me. In fact, it was almost half documentary. And so it's like
Right.
it speaks to real life and in some great ways, but it's also extremely funny. Loved Snack Shack as well. My Old Ass was a huge surprise. I loved that
Yeah,
film.
me too. I was so surprised by
Like
that.
maybe by a slight hair, I think my winner here would probably be DD. That might be my vote for directorial debut of the year. I love coming of age films, and I think the way that film manages those themes, I think is great, and it has one of my favorite supporting actress performances of the year as well. Yeah, it's really great. But all 5 of these, I mean, you can't go wrong. I think they're all very good.
Yeah, Nicole, have you seen all these? What do you think?
I've only seen one of these.
Oh
Um,
wow. Okay. Which one?
Admittedly, comedies are not my thing. Um, and I feel very embarrassed. I honestly don't think I'd heard of Snack Shack. Um,
It was
I,
extreme, and that's not a surprise to me. It was
yeah,
extremely underseen. It was
Yeah.
like I don't even remember. I think a podcast I listened to mentioned it, and when I heard the premise of it, I was like, "Oh, I want to check that out." And it has
I'm
Sammy Fableman in it. What
Yeah.
Gabriel
Gabriel
LaBelle.
LaBelle. Yeah, he's
And
in
a
it,
Okay.
and I was
very
like,
different performance too, which was
Yeah.
fun.
"Yeah, he plays like a 15-year-old kid working at the pool."
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, maybe I should check that out.
But
It's
it's a
fun. It's
really
fun.
good coming of age.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a classic coming of age story, but just different enough
Yeah.
to be really charming.
Mm-hmm.
Babes, you were talking about it, JD. Dude, the opening sequence in Babes when
It's
they're in
so
the
good.
restaurant and her water breaks and all that. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm glad I watched that one at home because I literally could. That was one of the films, one of the rare times where I had to pause it because I just couldn't focus on what was going to happen next because it was so
Yeah.
funny. And then
Oh,
My
it's
Old
great.
Ass was hilarious, but also touching.
Yeah.
Dee Dee, yeah. I mean, you're right, JD. This is a stout group here. And
Yeah.
Nicole's got a watch list now, so.
Yes, I
Yeah.
do.
For real.
Okay, let's see. Best horror movie, which is typically my favorite category, as you guys can probably tell. I'll just tell you, for me, it's Nosferatu with a bullet. The Substance is probably a close second. What do you guys think here? Is this another one where you guys have seen all of these? And if so, what do you think is the front runner here?
Once again, I have not seen all of these. That's not surprising though, because I don't
I
do
know,
horror.
right?
I apparently don't do horror or comedy. I said, I just like to be depressed.
That's fair. Yeah, sure. Yeah, you want to
I'm just
feel
like,
real, like
it's like
yeah.
Inside Out too. I'm just like, I've got sadness lined up.
Just that-
No. But actually, this is a fun year for me, and that one of my favorite movies of the year is in this category.
hmm
I
We talked
love
about it.
Nosferatu. I love gothic horror, and so that's really exciting for me. I still have not seen Longlegs, and I feel like that one I should probably check out. And I hate admitting this, I haven't watched The Substance yet. But that is
Oh, really?
definitely high on my
Oh no,
list,
you got to get on that
especially
immediately. Yeah.
after Demi Moore's globes win and her speech being so good. So, um, honestly, probably never gonna watch Smile 2, but I think that's probably okay.
Yeah, you got to get on The Substance for sure because I think it's going to get some. Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
I
there's been
hope.
some curveballs, but I think it's probably going to get some Academy love, which for horror is like Christmas morning. I mean, that happens once
Yeah,
every decade. So,
exactly.
um, um, so Yenny's asking, is Romulus horror or action? I mean, I think it's both. I think it does borrow from Aliens, but it also borrows from the Alien kind of model as well.
Mhm.
So it's a little bit of both. JD, you got a favorite in this category?
Yeah, I do, and I'm kind of with you in the sense that it's Nosferatu by a mile.
Mhm.
That to me is my favorite of this group, but I also really do like The Substance a lot as well. So like that would easily be my two here. The other three in this category, I am not a huge fan of. I'm kind of mixed on all three of them. I've just had to uh, accept that the Smile franchise is not for me. I just don't.
Mhm.
I didn't love either of those films, but I think Smile 2 is miles better than the first one.
Mm,
And Alien Romulus is a weird one for me because I don't love it, but I also think it's one of the best crafted films of the year. Like the
mm,
craft is out of bounds. It's ridiculous.
It really
It
is.
is
Yeah.
stunningly well. Like I think it's good enough. It should be in contention for something like best cinematography. Obviously,
Mhm.
it isn't, but I think it's certainly worthy of being in that conversation. But I just don't love it as a movie. I think someone in the comments mentioned The First Omen. I would take
Right.
that head over
mm,
heels above those three. I know there's been some conversation around I Saw the TV Glow, that being a horror film. If that does qualify as horror, I would obviously put that here as well.
mm.
Or the Canadian film Red Rooms. Again,
Oh
you
yeah.
can maybe argue whether that's a horror film or not, but it has one of the most horrifying scenes of the year.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
like,
Yeah.
if that qualifies, that
Yeah.
would easily be in this list if it
Yep.
was me. So,
If
yeah.
horror is meant to fuck you up, then Red Rooms is
Oh my
horror.
Yeah.
God. Yeah.
Because I was like
Yes.
shook after seeing that movie.
Yeah, yeah.
The
That
only one
courtroom scene,
oh brutal.
I think, is the scene of the year for me. That would be that's my number
Did you?
one scene of the year.
I haven't listened yet. Did you guys shout me out because I put that in my suggestions for your episode for best scenes?
No,
I
but
think
I
I called it.
can.
I think I called it
I
courtroom
can.
cosplay
Yeah, well,
because
okay.
I didn't know.
I guess in essence, I might have because I did take some of that terminology. So I guess I didn't say you specifically, but I guess you were
Okay,
good
all
in
right,
spirit
okay.
then.
Yeah. That's fine. That's fine. Real quick, and then we'll go to the next category. The only movie on this in this five, and I'm a horror guy, as you guys know, that I wasn't
Mm,
like blown away, like oh my god, this is one of the best horror movies
Mhm.
of the year. Is Longlegs. I did like it, but it was a very
mm,
mid film to me because the
yeah.
expectation for that film, which of course is probably Neon's fault because it was the best marketing of the year for sure, and I just expected more from it. I mean, it was good, but it wasn't like I wouldn't put it in the top five horror movies of the year. But somebody, the committee did, so it's up there for nominations, and
Okay.
it was a very popular horror movie this year. That's for sure. Nicolas Cage
Yeah.
doing his
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll switch gears because from horror to animated, in case there's any kids watching. What do you guys think? By the
I
way, Flo is missing here.
Yeah,
What?
Yeah. I'm surprised.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I admittedly have not seen all of these. I'm just, I hate to say it, I'm not a Wallace and Gromit person.
Yeah. Same.
Okay.
Um, like I
Interesting.
don't know why it really doesn't appeal to me because it's not like I like claymation, but um,
Mm,
for me though, and obviously Flo is not here, but for me from these Inside Out 2 would be like my
Oh, really?
clear winner. I really loved Inside Out 2. Maybe because I mean I joked earlier that like my head is run by sadness. It's not. It's run by anxiety. Um, voiced by Maya Hawke specifically.
yeah. Who's great
Um,
as that
I
character?
she's so good and Maya Hawke is my girl. So I really appreciate that. I think it's one of like the realest takes I've ever seen on like a teen, a preteen girl going through puberty.
Yeah, that
And
aspect is really
I
cool.
like it so much more than the original Inside Out. I think it uses the concept of Inside Out much, much better. Um, but yeah, but I still need to see Memoir of a Snail too.
Yeah, that's a
So,
really, really good one. That was another kind of like we said with My Old Ass earlier in the comedy
mhm,
from for this category. That was a really pleasant surprise for me when I saw that. I was
yeah.
like, oh my god, this is so good and so deep. Like it's a very deep feeling film. Like it makes you really feel things, and it's also like amazing animation and the voice work is great. It has the chick from Succession. Help me out. The sister from Succession.
Oh,
God,
Sarah Snook, that one?
Sarah Snook. Yeah, Sarah Snook. Yep.
Yeah.
She does voice acting in it. She's awesome in it. The Wild Robot for me, JD, of these five, Flow is actually my favorite animated film of the year, but I think maybe nobody's seen it, so it didn't
Yeah.
make the cut here. But
Yeah.
aside from Flow, I think it's probably Wild Robot, followed by Snail for me. What about you?
So you remove Wallace and Gromit, and I'm with Nicole. I think the movie's fine. I mean, I don't hate it by any means. I think it's endearing and charming, but I mean, Flow is a far superior film in my opinion. And then, so if you substitute Wallace and Gromit with Flow, this is the five for me. Like Transformers 1 won't get the Oscar nod. It will be Wallace and Gromit, but I think Transformers 1 is honestly one of the more underrated films of the year. I think it was certainly one of the best surprises of the year. The marketing for that film was absolutely garbage. And I think the film is really good at tackling familiar tropes. I mean, its central story isn't anything new by any means, but I think it takes those ideas and commits to them with some really incredible sincerity. The winner, though, as much as I love Flow is a really, really great film. The Wild Robot, like that film might crack my top 10. I think it is that good. I think it is one of the very best films of the year. I've seen it 3 times now, and it has a score that I think will go down as one of the best animated scores, perhaps of all time, certainly of the 21st century thus far. Chris Bowers was born to score that film. It is absolutely remarkable. And again, the way it taps into parenthood and like from a symbolic perspective is just something I have never seen before. It is really clever and intuitive. Honestly, reminded me of Inside Out in that regard from 2015. I responded very similar in terms of how intuitive it is with its thematic underbelly. And I love that. And Lupita Nyong'o has quietly, maybe pun intended, has had an incredible year with both of her performances. Just she's really, really good in this film, and I love the animation as well. And the migration scene I mentioned earlier, Red Rooms being the scene of the year for me. I think that migration takeoff, it's probably my number 2. Like that is the other big scene of the year for me.
Yeah, you feel like you can levitate watching that thing, man. And this is I can't remember which episode it was that came up on the podcast, but I feel like 2024 had a lot of really good films like centered around like motherhood and like parenthood. You know, The Wild Robot is another one of those, but you know, even Night Bitch with Amy Adams, like it was like just a year for really good stories of motherhood and like kind of what goes along with that and kind of trying to figure it all out. Because I'll tell you right now, having kids is not easy. You know, you got to figure it out. There's no owner's manual that comes with those things, you know? So,
no. Well, and that's the brilliance of the Wild Robot for me is, I mean, that whole film is about kind of reconfiguring your inner workings and organically, like it's something that just happens in Roz. And that I just, again, it's so true, at least to my experience. Like that whole gag in the film of like just making it up as she goes, despite having like a structure, like here's what you got to do in order for Brightbill to leave. Like I love how the film handles that. It's incredible.
Yeah, me too. Great pick. Wild Robot. I think that's probably it for me too. I mean, some stiff competition here, but at the end of the day, that's my favorite too. I do love Flow, and I wish more people had seen it at this point, but I think that's just the case for that one.
And quick shout out to Memoir of a Snail because it's an Australian animated film, and maybe not a lot of people have seen it, but it's also really, really great. So
it is awesome.
Throw that out there.
It really is. Stop motion is really good.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
For Best Director, I'm so proud of my committee because I think this happened last year too, but we got a lot of female representation, which I love because especially seeing some of the stuff that came out today, TGA and the SAG, etc. Not one female in sight. But anyway, we've got a nice group of 6 here, all movies that I love. Who's the elite director in this group? Nicole, what do you think?
I mean, for me, it's got to be Robert Eggers.
He directed the hell out of that thing.
Well, and I also, the thing is, you know, as someone with 2 history degrees, um, nothing's ever gonna get me like his commitment to historical accuracy,
Hmm.
and to using proper materials and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um, I also think like the way that he tells Nosferatu is just so beautiful.
Hmm.
Um, I also though, I'm over here like, yeah, can we all please remember that someone directed Dune 2?
Yeah.
I
I
think it's
know.
such an achievement. I think that the way that he put that together is just astounding. Also, like I've joked about it before, but I kind of genuinely mean it when I say like Dune 2 made me understand religion. Um, so
Yeah.
I wish I saw him getting more credit for not just how like beautiful the movie is, but also how clever it is.
Yeah.
Um, Now if I had to pick someone that I think is missing from here, I would say Luca Guadagnino. Uh,
For challengers or for queer or just for the year in
See,
general?
that's the thing is I'm like, I want either.
Queer.
But
Queer.
no, probably for challengers, just because I think that some of the way that that film is put together, like I think that it's very hard for a director in particular to always pull off a
Hmm.
movie with chronology like that one has, and I think he does
Hmm.
it super well. But
Yeah, I'd agree with
I
that.
really like this lineup. I love seeing female directors in it. I love
Mhm.
seeing some people that the Academy is probably going to ignore.
Yeah.
It makes me really
Oh yeah.
happy.
What do you
Yeah.
think, JD? Who's your pick out of this six here?
Yeah, this is a really solid crop, and look, I love Robert Eggers as much as the next guy, and what Denis does with Dune Part Two is absolutely absurd for all the reasons Nicole was talking about. It's both of those are really well directed films. Um, Out of this crop, though, I might go with Jane Schoenbrunn actually.
Mhm.
I that's a film that really blew me away in terms of the storytelling, the on the surface storytelling, how they tether that to the thematic symbolism of the film. And sometimes it's not subtle, other times it is. But I do love how that film is able to um, tackle such rich harrowing themes at times. I mean, I noted earlier there's been some debate whether it's a horror film or not, and I think I saw even in the chat someone
Yeah,
arguing
somebody
it's
asked
not a
that.
horror film, but I think it has some of the most horrific scenes of the year.
Mhm.
Certainly, some of the more visceral scenes of the year, such as what we get there at the birthday party at the end.
Hmm.
But it's also a deeply poignant film, and you couple just the feeling that the film gives you with its craft, and I think it is underratedly one of the best shot films of the year. The cinematography is remarkable, the sound design, the way the film recreates 90s TV show to
Mm.
an incredibly authentic way, and how that's kind of recontextualized at the end is quite astounding. And then you couple that with the score and of course the soundtrack, which is so prominent in the film. A lot of will use needle drops that I think is extremely efficient.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, maybe I'll go with Jane simply because, like Dune and Nosferatu, there's going to be a lot of people that go to those out of this crop, and deservedly so. I mean, you can't go wrong with either
Hmm.
of those guys. But I guess I'll champion I Saw the TV Glow here. I think what Jane Schoenbrunn does is absolutely astounding.
I think the fearless direction that Coralie shows in the substance, Nicole. I know you haven't seen it yet. I don't want to give
Mhm.
too
Yeah.
much away, but
Yeah, that's a phenomenally
I
directed
mean,
film too. Yeah.
I agree. I mean, just man, she's just doing her thing, and she did it in Revenge too, her first movie, which I think was 2018 or
Mm.
2017, something like that.
Hmm.
And both of them are just flawlessly directed and super courageous. And Rose Glass did
Hmm.
it too, actually with both of her films as well. But just huge swings, just like
Yeah. Big
I'm
swings.
going to film this.
Yeah.
We're gonna do this, and either
Yeah.
it works or it doesn't work, for the masses. And it looks like the substance is working for the masses, which I was
Yeah.
thinking. I never thought until a couple weeks ago when it kind of started showing up. I never thought that it would be embraced by the awards community. I just
Yeah.
didn't because
And I don't think it would have 5 years ago. Certainly
Right.
10
I
years
agree.
ago. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
those films are coming out at the right time, and it's really great to see that there has been a shift.
Yeah, I mean, I love Robert Eggers. I'm an egghead, but I mean, it's
Yeah.
probably him and Coralie for me. I mean, they're like neck and neck. But
Totally fair. Yeah.
all these movies are great. All the directing efforts are
Mm-hmm.
great. We'll see how it shakes out. I think it's going to be a tight category. And speaking of tight category, how about this group for male performance? Now, I'll just go ahead and give a caveat to anybody watching, or if you're watching this later, or even if you're looking at the ballot. So for the Golden Peas, we just do the acting performance regardless of screen time, regardless of if it's considered a lead or supporting. It's just 6 nominees. It could be 6 supporting. It could be 6 lead. It could be a mix. We've got a bit of a mix here. All of these are so damn memorable, though, for me personally. I love the group that kind of came together for Best Male Performance. I'm just going to say this and then throw it to you guys. I'll let Nicole go first, but come on, Timmy. I mean, Timmy's my guy. I mean, you know, Shalaby. So that's what I'm picking. What do you guys,
Yeah.
Nicole, you go first.
So for me, it's between Shalmela Bing Bong and
Yeah.
Coleman Domingo. I think Coleman is like such a great performer. And he's like my favorite person ever to see on a press tour because he just like sits down and it's like my soul feels cleansed after I listen to him talk. And he just delivers great work. But I mean, listen, what Timothy did in A Complete Unknown. And I also think like to recognize that and the work he's doing in the Dune films is a great
Yeah.
opportunity. Now, of course, I have to say the person who's missing here for me is Sebastian Stan.
Yeah.
Who, if you ask me, gave the 2 best performances of the year.
Yeah, but you know,
Um,
another thing too, no, Nicole, is those nobody's seen. I hate when these like
fair enough.
really good high quality.
Yep.
You just can't see them. You know, I mean,
No,
talking about the
believe me,
general
I know. I
public.
had to like hunt down
Yeah.
a different man.
Yeah.
I
It is
know.
on streaming
It's
now
sad.
though. So
Yeah. Oh, okay, good. I didn't even know that. Good.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen both, and I
Um,
love both, and I echo what you're
I
saying. I'm just
also have big thoughts on how A Different Man was neglected by its studio.
Oh,
And they should
that's
have
so
let
frustrating.
me be its campaign manager.
mhm.
I would have done it for free.
Mhm.
I'll
But
join
no,
you,
seriously.
Nicole. If you get
Yeah,
it, let me
thank
know.
you. Thank you. No, A24 has like really dropped the ball on a lot of things. I've seen the comments here. But I also like will acknowledge I love Denzel being here because Denzel in Gladiator
He
2
was
is the
doing it.
funniest performance to
Oh
me.
my God, he was
Like
doing it.
it's
Yeah.
camp. It's full camp.
Yeah.
I will say, having seen the movie like 3 or 4 times now, it cracks me up that he delivers most of his lines exactly the same way. Like he uses the same cadence in his voice. Like they're all kind of delivered in the "I own your house"
Right. Right.
delivery, but I love it. Like commit to it. Like so yeah, I really like this set. I think it's a nice mix. But I know who I'm voting for.
I
Uh,
think Denzel, real quick, JD. I think
Yeah.
Denzel and Hemsworth here have very similar
mhm.
kind of purposes in their films. You know, they're
Yeah.
hmm
the comic relief, but they're also kind of a scary villain, and you know, they're arguably the most memorable parts from a performance standpoint in the films. I love all these. Like I said, JD, what are you thinking in terms of a favorite for you here?
Okay, so of these nominees, there are 2 that stand out. One of them is Coleman Domingo. What he does in Sing Sing is truly
Mhm.
great. He's going to be nominated for the Oscar and very
Hmm.
deserving of that accolade. The other is not in the awards conversation at all, and baffling is the only word that comes to mind. Now, I understand why, because the film did not get any sort of recognition when it came out. But what Chris Hemsworth does in Furiosa is utterly remarkable. I think you can argue this is his best work to date. And it is incredible how he rides that line between camp and theatricality for sure. When it is called upon. My man loves to deliver a line, but there's also like and he's done this before. I think we've actually seen this in some of his Thor performances as well. Like as loud as he gets here, there's always this kind of underlying wave of poignancy, like that the thing that is driving that character, like that grief that is driving his actions, is always bubbling. And how he's able to tap into that is just phenomenal. And I think the difference between something like Hemsworth or what we get in Gladiator 2, and I like Gladiator 2 overall, but I do think that what Hemsworth is like, I do think he's working with richer material. Again, like George Miller infuses Furiosa with this incredible poeticism and mysticism that I love. And so much of that is built around Hemsworth's performance. And man, he delivers that. Like that final confrontation he has with Furiosa out in the desert is some of the best line delivery that you'll hear all year. And it's just phenomenal stuff. Like the man is working on all cylinders, and it's a phenomenal performance. Again, like I in a logical sense, I understand why he's not in the Oscars conversation. In terms of just pure quality, the fact that he's not even being talked about, it just blows my mind. He killed it. It's one of the best performances of the year of any kind.
Yeah, look at him doing something like that, and then look at Chris Evans in Red One. All right, the choices we make in life, you know.
Nice. It's okay. It's okay. Chris Evans has materialists coming. Okay, he's gonna redeem himself.
He'll get back. Yeah, please.
He's got bills to pay. It's fine.
We need Ryan Johnson to call him again. Figure something out.
Please.
For me, it's Timmy C, and I'm Golden Peas, yes, but also the Oscar. Like, let's go, Timmy. We got to do it, guys. And the last one that we'll talk about, I'll get you all's thoughts on. What a group here for Best Female Performance. Again, we've got some supporting, we've got some lead. These are mostly lead, with the exception of, I guess, maybe Ariana Grande.
Who is a co-lead.
Yeah,
right.
She's a co-lead.
Right.
She is.
Pretty much, yeah. So, co-lead or more for this 6 here. I love the June Squibb inclusion. She's, like JD said at the top, she's really being left out most awards bodies, which is crazy because it's just such a good story. What do you guys think here? You want to go first, Nicole? Who's your pick out of this group?
So first of all, like you said, I love June Squibb making it in here. That makes me so happy. I also think it's very interesting that Ariana Grande made it over Cynthia Erivo. I mean, part of that I think is that Ariana Grande is a very well-known pop star that I think a lot of us forgot knows how to act. Because in some ways, I think like her performance as Glinda obviously sort of taps into her like roots on Nickelodeon as a comedic actress, which I think is super fun.
That's true.
Now, I do, like, if you ask me, I do think Cynthia Erivo gives a better performance in Wicked, but with the caveat that I have not seen the substance. My winner in this category would have to be Miss Newly Engaged Zendaya. Because I actually think that what she's doing in Challengers is sort of underrated. In that she portrays a lot without words throughout it. In this story of a woman who sort of has everything that she's ever worked for stripped from her because of a injury, which I think is sort of at the heart of it. And the more that I like heard Zendaya talk about Tashi and the character and her take on it, the like more I found in the film, which is part of why I've seen it so many times. But I really love this lineup here, and I wish, I'd love to see some of these translate to the other award shows.
Real quick before I get JD's thoughts on the group here, was Tashi orchestrating all that? You guys think was she the villain in Challengers? Was she pulling the strings?
I'm sitting here with my Art Donaldson Defender
Uh,
shirt on. So
right,
if you
right.
ask me, Tashi and Patrick are both snakes.
All right, all right.
I'm kidding.
No, I didn't. I didn't snub Mia Goth, by the way. I would never do that.
Um,
What would have been Maxine this year? Yeah, I don't know, but yeah.
yeah.
All
Mia
right,
Goth
JD,
is
what do you
back.
think, man? Yeah, she'll be fine.
This category for me comes down, and look, I love June Squibb. Do love her, as I noted earlier. But I do think this category, for at least for me, is between, and I hate to sound like a trite Academy voter here, but I think this is Mikey Madison or Demi Moore for me. I love both of those performances quite a lot. Madison, what I love about her performance is that it's kind of like a volcano, in the sense that there's a lot of buildup over the course of the film. And of course, there's like these little eruptions over the course of the film that's really great to see. She's having a lot of fun. And I love the brazen approach to the character. However, it's almost like an inverted volcano, because once there's an eruption at the end, how that kind of subverts so much of what came before, and we get this wave of pathos at the end, I think is phenomenal. Like that it's one of the best endings of the year for me, and I think her performance is driving that more than anything else. It's quite remarkable. So I do love that. And I mean, I don't know what you can say about Demi Moore that hasn't been said already. It's certainly one of the more courageous performances of the year. There's a ton of conviction to it. She's fully committed to it, and it's incredible. So I guess it's kind of a coin toss for me between those two. That's kind of where I sit. But again, a little shout out for June Squibb. And I will say, I know a lot of people disagree with me. That's perfectly fine. I think Naomi Scott is really great in Smile 2. I do want to at least acknowledge that. I don't love the film. I think the material limits the performance a little bit, but from scene to scene, she is a powerhouse in every single moment of that film. So I do acknowledge and recognize she is phenomenal in that film. I just wish I loved the film as much as I loved her performance.
Yeah, she's getting a lot of love over in the chat, Naomi Scott, and
yeah, she's great.
I think
yeah.
that was a really, really good committed performance as well. For me, before we wrap up, I mean, in this group, it's probably Mikey Madison for me too. I could be blinded or biased a little bit because I've been pulling for her all Oscar season as well. But also, it really puts me in a conundrum as such a fan of the substance and horror in general, because now Demi Moore's in the mix, and I didn't think that would ever happen from an Oscars perspective.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, well, shit, do I pull for Demi Moore now, or do I stay with Mikey?
It's crazy.
They're both.
I love that she's in there. yeah.
Me too. I mean, they're both so deserving though, so you can't really lose. But yeah, it's a great group there for best female performance. So let's go back to show everybody real quick what we were looking at when we started and when we finished these nomination announcements for best movie. Those are the 10 films that the committee came up with that you guys will get to vote on. And I did a little graphic so we could see what movies got nominated the most. And this is what we're looking at. So anything that had more than 2 nominations. There you go. Nosferatu and The Substance leading the way with 4. Honora, Challengers, I Saw the TV Glow, and Thelma each getting 3, and then we had a few with 2 and some with 1. So I think it's pretty well rounded this year. And what's exciting about not only the Golden Peas, but what's exciting about just in general this award season is I have no fucking idea what's going to win, who's going to vote for what. Like, I just don't know, and I think it kind of is the same here, honestly.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with Thelma getting 3. That's so fun and like kind of
That's
unexpected.
Good. That's good.
But yeah, I agree. I think that like I always enjoy an awards season where we go in not really knowing what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's great.
Ceremony.
And I mentioned that in a recent video I did because last year, Oppenheimer was brilliant. I love it. I think it's one of the best films of the last decade. But I mean, everybody knew. I mean, there was no mystery.
I was like, I'm bored.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, JD, Nicole, you guys are the best. Those were the nominees for this year's Golden Peas Movie Awards. The voting is open until February 1st. We have some fun presenters this year that'll be giving away awards in these 10 categories. My son's going to be involved again. He wants to give away Best Action this year because he's seen a few of those, so he's going to be giving away the Best Action movie. And I've commissioned some friends out there in the Twitter and critical community to help me give away these awards. On February 12th is when that will air. And once the broadcast is available for you guys to bookmark it and everything, I'll make sure to share that online so you guys can know where to find it. Don't forget to vote. If Producer Dan is in the chat, I would ask him to throw that link up there one more time. It's also at the bottom of the screen, and I think I may have yeah, there we go. So there's the link to cast your ballot for the Golden Peas. Make sure you guys vote. JD, tell them real quick where they can find InSession Film and look you guys up.
Yeah, InSessionFilm.com is the easiest way to find us. We have links to our social medias there, to the podcast. It's here on YouTube, your listening app of choice. We have a bunch of written content there up as well. And if you want to hear more awards shenanigans, our award show is dropping next week. So if you want to subscribe and be on the lookout for that. And thanks for having me. This was a blast. I enjoyed being here once again.
Absolutely, man. I love having you for sure. And your cohort, Brendan's going to be one of the presenters this year, so that'll be cool.
Yep.
And then on top of that, one of Nicole's dear friends and also a podcasting buddy of hers, Lex, is also going to be presenting. Nicole, tell them about Culture Cabinet and where they can find you guys.
Yeah, so Culture Cabinet is the site that Lex and I are co-editors of. We cover not just film, but also books, music, TV, theater, art in general. So definitely come over there and check out some stuff that we've been doing. Lex has some really exciting music pieces coming. I also have a piece I'm working on inspired by the conversation that I had on this podcast recently on our episode about Nosferatu and the medical treatment of women. But I just want to say I will be watching The Substance before I vote in the Golden Peas Awards. I promise. But thank you again
check that
for
one
having
out.
me on. You can find Culture Cabinet at www.culturecabinet.com. And we also have a new Instagram account and would love for y'all to follow us over there at Culture Cabinet.
Love it. Love it. Love you guys. Thanks for being here again. Brian Loisauce, I saw him over in the chat a minute ago. He's going to be co-hosting again with me, guys. The Golden Peas is the 8th year I've been doing it. It's the 3rd year on YouTube. And all 3 years we've been on YouTube, these two have come so graciously to announce the nominees, and it was a blast to talk about these with y'all tonight. Once again, our thoughts are with everybody out on the West Coast. Obviously, the tragic fires and all that stuff. Please stay safe, and we're thinking about you. And thanks for tuning into the stream, guys. I really appreciate it as always. Hang tight. We can talk off air. We'll say goodbye to these guys. Thank you for tuning in. Please go vote for this year's Golden Pea Movie Awards.